Hi, how are you? If you look at me, you think, oh, there's a normal looking guy. You may think, oh, he's bald, he should get hair plugs, or he should do this, or he should do that. But you know, it's genetic on both sides of my family, so I don't care. If you don't like it, that's your problem, not mine, actually. But people will bully you about being bald. People will bully you because your nose is too big or too small. Your ears are too big or too small. Your head, your face is not symmetrical. Your ears are not symmetrical. Your eyes are not symmetrical. And other things. They'll bully you if you're too skinny. They'll bully you if you're too fat. They'll bully you if you're too short or tall. They'll bully you if you're too weak or too strong. Although not so often if you're strong. And they generally won't bully you if you're very attractive, but unless they feel like they have to bring you down to their level, I guess, because they're not attractive or don't feel attractive. But people who are ugly definitely get bullied. And they'll bully you if you don't act the way that they expect you to act. If you're not feminine enough as a girl, if you're not masculine enough as a guy, if you don't have machismo, you are going to be bullied. If they think that you're gay, you're going to be bullied. I've been bullied. Okay? I've been bullied for religion. I've been bullied for gender. Not gender, really. That's not what I mean. I've been bullied because I don't present as a very macho guy. I've been bullied because I did not conform to societal expectations of dress and behavior. It wasn't like I was doing anything weird or anything like that. I was just not behaving the way certain people thought I should behave. Some people thought I was too weak or too not macho, like feminine kind of thing or something like that. I was bullied once. I was in a choir, and there was a boy who was younger than me who could sing lower than me, and he made a smart-ass remark about that. Well, the teacher said I'm really straight really fast. He said there's no connection between age and how low your voice can go. It's all a matter of the larynx size, right? I've been bullied because my religious beliefs are not the most standard religious beliefs of this country, which is Christianity. I've been bullied because sometimes I don't know how to say things the most polite way possible, the most sensitive way possible. I've been bullied, and then even when I told them that they had been mistaken, they kept on bullying me. Sometimes I've been bullied. I was bullied on one website, not a website, a Slack site, to the point that I was kicked off of the site because I refused to apologize more than I had apologized after being accused of discriminating against mentally ill people. And I'm mentally ill. I've got problems like everybody else, really. And, they wouldn't listen to what I was saying. It was just like, I was wrong. They were right. And it didn't matter that they were doing to me what they were accusing me of doing to them. When I was a kid, I was very, very popular in my neighborhood. I was the oldest in the group of kids that were playing together, but I don't think that really had anything to do with it. I was outgoing, I was friendly, I was nice, and yeah. And then I would guess it was around 3rd or 4th grade, I started to have problems with certain bullies at school. But previous to that, one of my neighborhood friends was actually a bully. I think he was abused at home. Certainly he was sexually abused, but he was also, I think, physically abused. And he would bully me. And there was another kid that lived there briefly who bullied me. And you know what? Eventually it started to get to me. I mean, it wasn't so much those two. The one guy that had moved in moved out. The friend, I got fed up with his bullying, and I said, I stopped inviting him to my birthday parties, and then I stopped playing with him, and I rarely ever saw him after that. Eventually they moved out, and that was okay. But at school it was a little bit of a different situation. I didn't really, for some reason, what I had learned in handling my friend the bully, I couldn't figure out what to do at school. and I would report to my parents, I would report to the school counselor or the teacher or whatever, but I didn't have, okay, it doesn't really matter what I had and didn't have. What really matters here is the impact that the bullying had on me. And first, you have to understand, though, that most bullies are bullies because they were abused or bullied. It turned them into something else. So they may have been wonderful people at one point in time, but because of the persistent abuse by other persons, or they became that very angry, vindictive, physically and or verbally abusive person. And that can go on throughout life if they don't make a change. So the effects of bullying on the bully and on the victims can last for a very, very, very long time. And some people go through their whole lives suffering from the effects of bullying. I think I'm pretty much done with the effects. At the age of 55, I think I finally came to some realizations in the last 5 years or so. Prior to that, I made some other realizations that were also very significant in helping me to deal with bullying as it happened. But what's worse than bullying is the lasting effects and how we deal with them. That is the key. Okay, now I can give you a little bit more perspective. I was bullied, but I was not bullied by a lot of people. I had friends. There were males and females who I was friends with, and a lot of people didn't bother me. I can probably count on about 6 people from, well, if I don't include elementary school, there were a couple more in elementary school, but if I just look at high school, junior and senior high school, there were probably about 6, and not all of them, or not any of them, I guess, were bullying me throughout the entire 7 years of high school. In fact, the ones that were bothering me in middle school or junior high school or intermediate school, they didn't get to stay at that school that I was at, so they were gone. And I started to get my feet underneath me and started to not tolerate bullying behavior around the 8th grade. And then there were 1 or 2 people in senior high school that were bothering me. One of them was at a new school that I had to move to. But my perspective, okay, and I know that there are some of you who are out there who are maybe watching this video and you're thinking to yourself, well, your story is different from mine. I have everybody bullying me, or I have a significant number of people bullying me, and that may very well be true. But what I made the mistake of doing, and I don't think anybody, even my parents, ever explained this to me, was I was focusing on the negative instead of focusing on the positive. Now, when I say negative, I was focusing on the bullies and what they were doing to me. Even though it was a small number of people, it didn't even happen every day. The positives were the large number of people who either were my friends or who left me alone. So I had the wrong focus. Now, even if you have a lot of people who are bullying you, you can still keep that same positive focus, focusing on what matters. The people who you care about, the people who care about you. Focus on them, okay? That's step number 1 to help you cope with bullying. Step number 2, and this is just as important as step number 1, is that you need to realize that they're attacking you, but it isn't your fault. Now, it's possible that you may be socially awkward, and they don't like that. So the question is can you learn somehow or other how to be more socially accepted? That doesn't mean you have to be the most popular kid in the school. It doesn't mean that you have to dress like really, really super nice or anything like that. But personality goes a long way. So maybe sometimes you may be a person who speaks out of turn, or maybe you're too blunt with your thoughts, or when you are joining a group, you don't wait so they feel comfortable with you being in the group before you start stating things, and other things like that. You know, maybe you can ask your friends, what do I do that makes people uncomfortable? If that is your situation, okay? Now, if you have a physical malady that makes you look different somehow, maybe you have one leg that's shorter than the other leg, maybe you have neurofibromatosis or something like that, that could be you know, visible to people, which can, and it's really unfortunate, because it basically means you've got nerves that are just constantly growing, and it creates these deformities and stuff, and it can be very painful and stuff. And there's another one where the blood vessels just go nuts, and so you look very, very well. The parts where it's affected, especially if it's visible, like on the head and face, you can endure a lot of bullying. But you have to remember, number one, it's not your fault that you've got a medical condition like that. And number two, they shouldn't be judging you based on a medical problem that you've got. They should be looking at you as a person and appreciating you for your strengths and your weaknesses, and for how you're the same as them, but also how you're different from them. Don't take their criticisms, their abuse, as being personal, okay? First of all, you have to remember, these bullies, again, have been abused. They are mentally ill, okay? So the bullies are damaged mentally and maybe physically as well. And so they lash out. They tend to lash out at people who have traits that they were told by their parents are bad traits. Now, that could have been a trait that they actually possess and suppress, or a trait that they used to have and got rid of because of the abuse. It could just be traits that you possess that they've been told are bad. Like, for example, if you're gay, okay? There are families out there who are going to say, oh, that person's going to go to hell, and the Bible says that person should be killed. Which actually is not true. The New Testament does not say you should be killing gays. It's only the Old Testament, and the New Testament trumps the Old Testament. But I'm not getting into that. So they are not lashing out at you per se. They are lashing out at something they perceive as being wrong because of wrongs done to them. They need help. And the truth is that both bullies and the bullied have a very high rate of suicide because they're struggling to cope and they're not happy. The bully is not happy. A happy person is not going to go around bullying people. It's the unhappy people, the mentally ill people. And I'm not saying that everybody who's mentally ill is a bully, okay? That's two different things, okay? I'm just saying that bullies are mentally ill. And it was a disease given to them by who bullied or abused them. All right? It's like a virus. You can think of it that way if you want. So, because this is like a disease they've got, it's really their problem, and they're projecting it onto you. So it's not really you, and you should never, ever take their comments personally. Now, I realize that that is pretty hard to do sometimes, especially when they are going after something about you that you feel self-conscious about, or you feel scared about, or something like that. It tends to be easier for you to personalize the attacks when you should never give anybody that kind of power over you. Okay? So just remember, don't take it personally. You got to learn to do that, okay? The third thing is you have to learn not to react the way a bully wants you to. In a situation, if the bully is, say for example, verbally accosting you, what they want is to see some kind of a reaction. Depending on the bully, generally speaking, a bully wants to see you get upset and cry, but basically be helpless. That's what they really like to see, because that's feeding their ego. It's giving them a sense of power when their sense of power has been stolen by whoever abused them. Okay, so that's one characteristic, or one possibility. The other possibility, generally speaking, aside from crying or behaving otherwise like a victim, is that they want to have you attack them because they hate themselves, they loathe themselves, and they want somebody to beat them down in order to punish them, I guess you could say. So you don't want to react by fighting, although there are cases where fighting a bully ends up with you becoming friends with a bully and things get better. Maybe. Or if you're not a strong character, you may end up becoming the bully's partner or something like that in crime, I guess you could say. But definitely, you don't want to act like a victim, and unless it gets down to it, you don't want to act like an aggressor. And if you don't know how to fight, you're just going to get pummeled anyways. So what you can do instead is you can turn it into a joke. Now, you don't make fun of the bully. I've seen movies where the intelligent kid who's being bullied repeatedly makes the bully look stupid, exposes the bully's poor intelligence or poor logic or something like that, or the fact that they don't know what they should know from their schooling. Now, I can tell you right away, although it may be very satisfying to sarcastically respond to a bully or to make a bully look stupid or something, all that's going to do is increase the likelihood that the bully's going to be angrier at you, and it's no longer about the original reason the bully was bothering you. It's going to become a personal thing for the bully because you've attacked the bully and made the bully look bad in front of his or her friends. So what you really need to do instead is to not attack the bully's person because they likely don't understand that they need to not take it personally. Don't put them down. Don't make fun of them. Don't make them look stupid. But make it a joke at your own expense. Like if you're walking along and a bully trips you, and this is actually taken from the real life experiences of a YouTuber by the name of oh my gosh, it's Nigga channel. If you look up Niggahigga, I think his first name is Ryan. I forgot. He's got a lot of funny stuff, but in a video he talked about how he was bullied for a while, and then he had a bully who knocked him down somehow. I tripped him or whatever, and he just turned around and he laughed at it, and he said, "Oh, that was a good joke, good job," and he just made light of it, which does two things. Okay, it avoids, well, not two things. It avoids looking like a victim. It avoids becoming an aggressor. It avoids upsetting the bully. And more importantly, it takes power away from the bully. Because if you don't react in the ways the bully wants you to react, if you react in a completely different way, the bully doesn't know what to do. The bully doesn't get the reaction he or she desires, and therefore is disempowered. You might as well have lopped his head off. Yeah, he could be a big bad bully, but if you don't give him what he or she wants, you've taken that power away. Now, when it comes to taking away power, you have to keep your power also. Okay? Now, and this is something that I've taught my kids. A lot of times, people swear or insult other people. And this often happens if you're having an argument with somebody and you can't win. Because the person is better at debating than you are, or they know more about the topic than you do, or something like that, or they just are not going to admit defeat. A lot of people get frustrated, and their reaction is, instead of continuing to try and debate it, or say, you know, look, I don't know enough about this to debate it, or I'm not good at debating, they get angry and they start insulting you. They start saying bad things about you. It's called a non sequitur, no, sorry, not non sequitur, ad hominem attack. It's an insult, okay? Ad hominem is a fancy way of saying it's an insult. A lot of people, if you insult them, if you swear at them, they get very, very upset. Guess what? When you do that, when you get very upset because a bully is verbally insulting you, or making gestures or mocking you in some way, if you react as a victim or you get really angry, that's what the bully wants again. So you have to learn not to have a reaction. Now, there are two ways to do that. The first way is to pretend that it didn't hurt. And that means that you're not doing what I told you to do, which is to not take it personally. It's good in the short term, but that stuff builds up in you, so you really got to let it go. Just be a duck and let it flow off your feathers. Okay? The other way is to genuinely not react to any insults. Just like ignore it. Ignore it because it doesn't matter. What that person's opinion, a bully's opinion, a person who's mentally ill in a violent way or an abusive way, their opinion of you does not matter. It doesn't matter if they're the most popular guy or gal in school. It does not matter. That person, and you see this a lot in politics, you see a lot of politicians who will quickly stoop to insults. These are the kinds of people you should not be putting into office, just to let you know, because they are messed up and they don't have good talking skills, so they resort to abuse because that's all they know how to do. Okay? Not going to name any names, Donald. Was that Donald Duck? Was that who I was talking about? I don't know. Anyways, so what we got first, next of all, is you need to learn how to diffuse. Now, there's another kind of bullying that I experienced when I was young, and that was bullying where a person who was a bully would come to me and ask to borrow a pencil or something like that, and then either they would not return it or they'd return it broken. So it's very simple. If you have a bully who's asking you for something, just say no. That's your first option. And they may give you a hard time about it, and just ignore it. Okay? If you decide to give the bully something that they're asking for, because maybe you're afraid or something like that, and they don't return it or they give it back to you broken, don't listen to your friends. I had brought a comic book to school for show and tell one day in middle school, and this other kid stole it. He also stole a Canadian dollar from me after I'd gone to Canada. And instead of going to the teacher to ask for help in getting it back, my friend told me, oh, he's going to fight you for it. You can only have it if you beat him. And being a person who didn't want to fight, I was scared by that. And so I forgot I could go to the teacher. And I never got my book back, which apparently he stole because he knew it was valuable. It was an old comic book my grandparents had given me. And I never got my Canadian dollar back from this jerk. So, and he was popular. So it's important that you take either avoidance action, which is don't give a bully anything they ask for, or you take corrective action, getting an authority figure involved. Now, if you're in one of the schools, God forbid, where the administration people are involved in protecting bullies or downplaying the effects of bullying, then you may find challenges. You may need to, I would suggest talking to your parents. Hopefully your parents will be sympathetic to your problem, and you may have to move to a different school. There are schools out there where that is the problem, and oh my gosh, there are some entire cities where that's almost all the schools have that problem. But this is kind of a secondary thing. Now, there are some, there are going to be situations that you can't avoid. But my suggestion is whether the administrative team is approachable or they are not approachable about the situation, you should do the same thing. Okay, go to them first and tell them what is missing or broken, and do that again and again and again. And eventually, if they're reasonable people, they will come around and they'll say, you know what, we got to do something about this, and hopefully they will address it by helping the bully to overcome the abuse that he or she endured that caused him or her to be a bully. Now, if that doesn't work, if you've gone to them again and again and said, they did this, they did that, and they're saying, oh, you're such a whiner, just man up, or something like that, which indicates that they're bullies, I would suggest that you consider going to the local authorities and file or the school district office and file a complaint against whoever it is in the school that is not helping you. Because, sometimes you get people that they think it's okay, or they're protecting somebody for a financial reason or something like that, or family, maybe they're related to the bully or something. But sometimes you have to go to the next level. So if you've repeatedly gone and said, hey, you've told the teacher, you've told the principal or administration of the school, and they're not reactive or they're not being helpful or something, go to the school district, go and tell them that you're not getting any help from the school leadership. And if they don't want to help, you can also take it to the police and say, hey, this is our situation, and you may need to move schools or change classes, but there's got to be a way to deal with it. But ultimately, all of this, if you can't accomplish any of this stuff that I have just laid out for you, then you're not dealing with the instances of bullying. You can still deal with the lasting effects of bullying, okay? So maybe in the moment, when you're being abused by the bully, you cry. Maybe the bully laughs at you. Maybe everybody laughs at you. It doesn't matter. Okay? They are sick. They need help. Okay? Anybody who's treating you like that needs help. And, you could say, you know what, Glenn, I want to, if a bully asks me for stuff, I want to give stuff. Well, I tried that. And all I got was, in return for being nice to a bully, was my pencil was broken, or my eraser was stolen, or whatever. So it doesn't work. Now, if you have a friendship with a bully, you can try to influence that bully to realize that what they're doing is wrong and help them do the right thing. But if they continue, you probably need to kind of slowly move away from that relationship. Don't cut it off and say, you know what, you're an asshole, I don't want to hang out with you anymore, but just don't spend time with the bully anymore, because if they're going down a road that is, if they drag you along, it's going to be a very bad thing for you. Okay? But the after effects of bullying can go for decades. And I know from personal experience, okay? Up until I was in my 40s, online, I was reactive to people attacking me. And I would get very upset, and I would try to defend myself, and I would act the victim. And it did not work. I was on this, when I lived in Indonesia, I was on this forum for expatriates living in Indonesia, and there was this one guy, he would just regularly go at me. It was ironic because there was one point where he was complaining about other people going at him, and one of the moderators said, yeah, well, look at how you treat Glenn. But it went on for like years. Like, this guy was like, he would attack me at every opportunity. And it was very frustrating. But eventually, and I don't really remember why, but eventually I made the realization I don't have to react to that person. I don't have to respond to that person. And I'll tell you what, in the beginning that was so hard. And even now sometimes I struggle with it. But, okay, so the bad news is anything you do repeatedly becomes a habit. If you do it enough, it becomes automatic. Habits are hard to get rid of. Automated habits are much more difficult to get rid of because you have to be much more consciously aware of what's going on in your head. And that's where mindfulness can be very, very important. Being present in the moment, in this current moment, at all times is a very valuable way, a very valuable technique to learn in order to change habits, and especially automated habits. Because what happens is when you do something repeatedly, your brain changes, not the whole thing, but there are paths of nerves that are built to support that bad habit you've got of acting like a victim, of responding emotionally when they attack you, okay? And it can be very, very frustrating to try and stop that. But here's the thing, and again, keep in mind, in the beginning, it's going to be hard to remember to be mindful of your reactions, and it's going to be hard to change your habits. But that's okay. It's okay if you get it wrong again and again and again. Just keep trying, because eventually what's going to happen is what new nerves are going to be created to support the new habits you want in your life. All right? That means also that as those new paths in your brain develop, the old ones, the bad habits you're trying to get rid of, so it goes like this. The bad ones get smaller, the new ones get stronger. And eventually, the bad ones, even the automated habits, they're just gone. The brain just removes those nerve pathways because you don't need that reaction. And that's eventually what happened to me. I became more aware of my emotions. I became more aware of the fact that I did not have to defend myself every time somebody attacked me. I did not have to get upset when somebody attacked me. I did not have to be a victim. And so, after my wife died, I was very vulnerable at that time, so I was a very easy target for a while. But I've gotten back to that equilibrium where if somebody attacks me, I'm just like, okay, click, block, click, report. And I don't ever see that person's comments ever again. And hopefully, if enough people do the same thing, that person gets kicked off of that website and doesn't come back. And, so now I'm like, oh, so you're saying that I'm a racist. I know I'm not a racist. And maybe I said something that was, not phrased correctly or something, but that doesn't make me a racist. So, you know what? Click, block, click, report. And it's done. I mean, I did an expose of iHub Global a couple, 3 months ago. And one of the leaders of iHub Global went in the comments of that expose, and he insulted me. Do you know what I did? Yep, click. And then I went to his channel. I said, don't come on my channel and insult me. But you know, I haven't heard from him again. And what can they do? I told the truth. So, my life, when I started building these new reactions, my life got better. It got better, number one, because bullies weren't finding a target. And bullies were being blocked. They couldn't come back. Number two, my life got better because I was emotionally better off. I was calmer. I was less reactive. I was less of a victim. I was thinking more positively. I wasn't hurting all the time. I wasn't hating myself, despising me for something that may not have even been my fault. I mean, okay, so like this eye and this eye, they're not identical. So what? Maybe you got like a big lump over here. So what? Did you choose that lump? Did you put it there? I mean, if you put something there, if you do something on purpose, that's a different story. You're bringing attention to yourself. But if you are being bullied because of something that is part of you, as in your physical appearance or whatever, there's no point in doing that, in reacting to that. That's on them, not on you. That's their fault. That's their sickness. Okay? So, I learned slowly to not react. If they swore at me, don't react. If they insulted me, don't react. If they insulted my family or my friends, don't react. If they insulted my ideas, don't react. Because my ideas are not me. Now sometimes when we have an idea, a belief, we invest too personally into it, too much into it, so that when anybody attacks it, we feel we are being attacked. But it's not us. It's the idea. It's the belief. So you have to step away from that too. So I'm not going to say that my life is perfect. But I am going to say that I am a lot better off than I ever was when I was younger. I'm a lot happier. I'm a lot better, well-balanced. And you can be too. And please, if you're going to start doing this, if you're going to start remapping the way your brain works, rewiring it, so to speak, you're going to have to try again and again and again and again and again. And for some of you, it's going to be easier, and some of you, it's going to be harder. Everybody's different. And how ingrained, how automated that habit is also going to affect how difficult it is. How much willpower you have, how much determination you have. But the important thing is you will succeed unless you give up. Not doing it right is not failure. You're fighting the wiring in your head, the nerves in your head. You have to change that. It takes time. So don't blame yourself. Don't get upset with yourself for making a mess. Oh gosh, I'm just going to do it better next time. You know what? I shouldn't have gotten upset. Next time, I'm not going to get upset. Next time, until next time becomes real. Until you start making the right reactions or non-reactions. And it will happen. You will start to mature. You will start to get control over your reactions. And I'll tell you what, if you are sitting there and your wheels are spinning for hours and hours and hours in your head, you've got a mental tornado that you're upset about something that happened to you. You're not in control. You need to look up in there and you say, okay, this isn't doing me any good. Shut it down. Stop thinking about it. You need to let it go. You need to make a plan to Move your life forward. Not spinning your wheels for hours or days or weeks or months, obsessively thinking about something that happened to you. Because that's also going to make it hard for you to sleep. Speaking of which, a couple of things that can mess up your emotions. Okay? If you don't get enough sleep, your emotional state is not going to be stable. Alright? So make sure you're getting enough sleep. If you're having problems with sleep, and you've got the mindfulness thing going on, you've turned off the mental tornadoes and stuff, but you're still having some problems, are you waking up coughing? Are you waking up gasping for breath? Are you waking up feeling like you're choking? Are you waking up feeling like you haven't breathed in a month? You could have sleep apnea. Go see a specialist. You have a sleep study done so you can get a machine to help you breathe at night. I have one. And it's made such a big difference. Okay? Another thing that is potentially a major player in terms of your emotional state is the food you eat. Are you eating a lot of carbs, as in like sugar, especially not even just like complex carbs like rice and pasta and wheat and stuff like that? It could be, or oatmeal. It could be simple carbs like sugar and honey and agave. Okay? If you're eating those, pay attention to how much you're eating. Because if you're eating enough carbs, it's going to make you more emotional. And I found this out the hard way. You see, on my reviews channel, I've been doing reviews of chocolate. I've been doing an elimination competition, trying to find the most complex chocolate out there that I could get a hold of at the time. And I was doing 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, maybe 10 reviews of chocolate bars per day, plus another 10 in the competition. That's all. I mean, I wasn't eating a whole bar. I was eating a couple pieces off of each bar for the review. 1 or 2 for the review, 1 or 2 for the competition. Every once in a great while, when it was a really close thing between the 2 bars, I might eat more. But still, I was eating probably, I'm going to guess, at that point I was probably eating at least 1 bar per day. And last month, I had this weird experience where I got up in the morning and I was feeling emotional. And I got upset, I was crying, and I was like, oh no, please don't let it be the depression coming back. Please. Because I'd had some challenges as a father that I was struggling to deal with, and that was bothering me, I knew. And then a couple days later, still being very weepy, I was at food pantry volunteering time, and I just suddenly got very emotional I didn't even know why. Because I really enjoy being at that food pantry and helping people. I had to step into the back room and just take myself away from everything and try to get myself under control again, get my emotions under control. And, one of the other volunteers came in and said, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "No, I'm struggling." Yeah. And so, she gave me a hug, and I went back to helping people a minute or 2 after that, and it was okay. But finally, I made an appointment to talk to my doctor virtually, and as we were talking, I came to realize that maybe I'd remembered hearing that if you get too much sugar, it can affect your emotions. And that makes sense because one of my best friends was a diabetic, and if he had too much sugar or too little sugar, his emotions would be weird. I mean, he would become a different person, and he wouldn't necessarily even remember what he had done. I remember one time he was helping me move, and I forgot to feed him, and I had an air gun, an air rifle, and a police car, we happened to be standing outside of the house I was moving into, and a police car comes by, and he picks up the air rifle and aims it at the police car. And I was like, oh my God, put that down. Are you crazy? And I was like, oh. And then obviously the police stopped, and he came over and he was like, what the fuck? And I was like, look, I'm sorry, this is an air rifle. Here, look, and it's not loaded, and my friend's having a diabetic reaction. I need to get him some food. And the guy was very understanding about it. But he gave him a warning, but he was like, okay, I'm gonna let you go. And so I was like, whew. But so yeah, so sugar can affect your emotions. And I realized I'd been eating all this chocolate and sometimes other carbs, well, usually other carbs as well, every morning. And what if that was it? And the doctor said, that could be it. So since then, I've scaled it back to one review and one competition thing per day, and then whatever other carbs I eat in the day. And I have not had any more problems. It's gone. So keep that in mind. So that's number 2. Number 3, I'm going to add one, okay? Number 3 is medication. I want to get off the medications that I'm on, but it's very hard to do. I need to change my diet and do some other things. But I can't get rid of my cat because I love him, and 4 of the medications are because of my cat. But he's adorable. I love him. Anyways, you may be having emotional problems because of certain medications that you're on. And if that seems to be the case, you should discuss with your doctor the possibility of doing a period of time without the medication. Now, there are certain caveats to this, okay? And you need definitely don't just do this without talking to your doctor, because if you are on certain kinds of medications, you just can't stop cold turkey, because you will have, for lack of a better word, withdrawal symptoms. Like, for example, if you are on steroids replace something that is naturally produced by a gland in your brain. I forgot the name of the gland. It's not important. So when you routinely consume steroids, the gland that produces the steroids is being regulated by some part of your brain, and it says, oh, I've got enough steroids in the blood, I don't need to produce. So when you suddenly stop consuming that steroid, your brain takes a while to, oh, gosh, because it takes a while for your body to get rid of the steroids. It can take like 3, 4, 5 weeks, maybe a week before the steroid is out of your system. And in that time frame, because the gland wasn't really being used very much to produce it, it takes a while for it to realize, oh, I need to ramp up production and start producing the steroid again because it's no longer in my blood, and gosh, got to catch up. So you can have a period that can go from days to weeks and maybe even months, depending on the level of steroids that you're on, and it can even be fatal if you just stop taking it. So definitely contact your medical professional and say, look, I think I'm having an emotional problem because of this medication. I want to try not taking this medication for a while and see if that's okay. But if medically you need something to deal with whatever the medication is for, you need to get an alternative medication put in place. I mean, like if you're like at high risk for heart disease, and you stop taking your heart medicine, that could lead to a heart attack, for example. So you want to make sure that you're doing it right, trying to isolate the source. Like I was on an antidepressant, an SSRI, and when I took it, I started having anxiety. I started having I don't know. I don't really remember exactly what it was, but I started having medical issues, mental and physical mental issues because of that SSRI. And I realized, gosh, I was okay. And then I started taking this. I mean, like, not I was depressed, but I was okay. And then I started taking this, and now I'm having these problems. And the last time that I took this medication, I remember I had these problems as well. So then I was like, ding, aha. So, I told the doctor, and the doctor was like, yeah, you should probably stop taking that, and so I stopped. But, again, you need to be careful when you're changing your medications, and also remember that sometimes over-medication, by you or by the doctor, can be bad. And put into the whole thing with that is dietary supplements. There are lots of dietary supplements out there, and you probably don't need them. Okay, so unless your doctor said you need this, you shouldn't be taking dietary supplements in general. All right, now like especially multivitamins. So if you take a multivitamin, or a single type of vitamin, and after you take it you feel lethargic, like for example iron. If you consume iron and then later you're feeling like you may be experiencing iron toxicity. And there's a technical word for it, but basically iron is toxic if you get too much. If you don't get enough, iron is the lack of iron is also bad for you. You need some, but you don't need a lot. So if you experience like lethargy and nausea and stuff like that, you may be getting certain vitamins in too high of a dose. For, based on what you're eating plus what's in the vitamins. So unless a doctor tells you you should take this multivitamin, never take a multivitamin. Just don't. And unless your doctor tells you to take a single vitamin, don't. And if you start to do it anyways and you discover, oh, I don't feel good after taking this vitamin, why? It's vitamins. It's supposed to be good for me. I need vitamins and minerals, right? Yeah, but in the right amounts. So if you start having symptoms like you're tired, you're weak, you're confused, you're dizzy, you're nauseous, you're anxious, or anything else that's different from before you started taking them, and it may happen right away, it may happen after a few days, that is a sign that you are overdosing on something in that supplement. All right? And that can cause emotional problems. So, in conclusion, remember, bullies are victims too. They need help. They have a mental illness. Don't take it personally. Learn not to be controlled by other people with their words. Okay? Learn not to react to what people say to you. Learn to just blow it off. And if you're online, click. Get rid of that person from your connections, or whatever it is. It's pretty easy on a lot of websites. Now, there are websites where you can't really do that, and then you have to choose. Do I get off this website? Do I talk to the administrator of the website? Or do I just put up with it? And I would suggest either getting off or talking to the administrator. Ultimately, the sooner that you develop a positive attitude and you're grateful for what you have and you don't let people manipulate you with their words and actions and you react in a way that disempowers the bully and you do all these things that I've been talking about, the sooner your life is going to get better. Okay? And don't go grabbing a gallon of ice cream every time you're upset or some other so-called comfort food, because usually what comfort food really is death food. It's the stuff that'll kill you. Okay? High carb stuff, stay away from it. All right, I think that's pretty much about all I'm going to say today on this topic. If you have any questions or comments or concerns, please let me know. Remember, if you're nasty, I will block you, because I just don't tolerate that crap. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you have a great day.